What I'm doing right now, my shoulder broke, but we still getting to the money. We still counting paper. This ain't a pump and dump, baby.
How do you feel about the rapper Rick Ross having the same name?
Well, the fact that he stole my name, not that we had the same name, he actually stole my whole story, my identity, the whole thing. You know, he built his career off of my legacy.
His career that you have any respect for?
Oh, no, there's nothing there.
Because Rick Ross just executed one of the slickest hustles ever on Big Meech. 50 Cent is having a great time at the moment. Meech allegedly placed a hit out on him, but the irony is that everyone, with the exception of Big Meech, anticipated this betrayal, as if it were the final episode of the wildest reality TV program. The internet is loving this drama. But let's take a closer look at this bizarre circumstance.
Knew perfectly damn well what he was doing. And
Since being thrown under the bus by Rick Ross, 50 Cent has been ridiculing Big Meech and Lil Meech on social media. However, what's most ridiculous is that only a few months after being released from prison, Big Meech was out there embracing Rick Ross as though he were a savior, instead of maintaining his distance and showing his affection for the man who was honest with him. Recognizing that Ross had been a longtime enemy of 50, Meech teamed up with Ross. 50 Cent wasn't really expecting Big Meech to act like the traitor that he is when he sides with Rick. Meech's smile and his mocking remarks about Ross, as if he had been into him for the previous 20 years, had to strike 50 like a ton of bricks, as though that betrayal wasn't enough. Big Meech went one step further and hung out with Floyd Mayweather, while Lil Meech pursued 50 in retaliation. Really? That's how you repay a man who kept you in the game for all those years and gave your son $5 million for real? At least Big Meech created something, even though some could contend that he made a fortune off of his moniker. Rick Ross, being the slick player that he is, capitalized on the attention, pursued influence, and boosted his own ego, since he knew this whole thing was going to explode out. When things heated up, what did he do? Before anyone knew what was going on, he retreated more quickly than you could blink. I mean, how can you explain how Ross abruptly injured his shoulder and made sure the whole internet knew about it the moment things got messy?
Was in on it.
What I'm doing right now, my shoulder broke, but we still getting to the money. We still counting paper. This ain't a pump.
And trust me, it only gets stranger from here. It's as if we're suddenly expected to feel sorry for him. Besides exploiting his shoulder condition as a pretext to avoid Big Meech, Rick Ross also utilized it as a way to avoid his loyal fans, whom he flat out disappointed out of their money with his cryptocurrency boss token. Fans started calling him Rick Loss on the internet because all the people who trusted him with their money were caught off guard by him. And he also really flopped. His being caught switching up on Big Meech a few days later is telling, in case you forgot. To make matters worse, there are rumors that Rick Ross was the one who encouraged Big Meech to contact. In an effort to boost his earnings, 50 Cent stated, "You really can't make this stuff up right now." Big Meech is now without anything, and other musicians are avoiding him because they think he has bad energy. The Wingstop franchises that everyone believed Big Meech would benefit from were apparently auctioned off by Rick Ross, who retained only a small number so he could put that money into his real estate company. And he would have this if Rick Ross hadn't been a setback. He was unable to mount a serious comeback since Big Meech kept up his reckless behavior throughout the game. Little Meech's attempt to flex like Gunna and blast stacks on his Trome Hearts jeans while out there made them lose it all. Currently, Big Meech is being mocked for his speed. This supposed friendship with Rick Ross didn't work out well. One of the harshest critics, Michael Rainey Jr., made it clear that he doesn't feel sorry for Lil Meech or Big Meech because they are both grown men who should have known better than to do this. And 50 Cent is only stoking the flames online.
Meech, I don't feel bad for no grown man in this planet. Like, I'm a grown man. Why the fuck I gotta feel bad for another grown man? Like, you a grown man too, and you asking for my sympathy for it, you be alright.
As DJ Vlad puts it, you would rather not be on the 50's bad side. Man, you can imagine how intense 50 Cent can get with his enemies. Anything will be destroyed to prove his point.
If you piss him off, his own kids sometimes too. You know, he'll cancel BMF to prove a point.
It's not only Big Meech though. Rick Ross has left his own crew to fend for themselves in the dust. He left them to enjoy themselves in Canada and then returned to say he was just testing their limits. That is a terrible. Rick Ross had been observing the game from the start, but that was always his approach. In this whole mess with 50 and Big Meech, Whack 100 even called him out for being the true problem.
Who's the bad guy? I don't think there's a bad.
No, yes it is. Hey, Vlad, let's talk about it.
I think Meech is the one that made a mistake.
No,
No? You think 50?
no,
Lil Meech.
no.
Who am I forgetting now?
Rick Ross knew perfectly damn well what he was doing and what the
Ross was never truly Big Meech's friend from the beginning. He had a defined objective and gave Meech a lot of publicity, giving the impression that he was his ride or die while attempting to flip him against 50. However, it was all clap in the end, and let's be practical. In fact, 100 had a point. Everyone knew that Rick Ross was just interested in helping Big Meech get back on his feet, but he was still out there talking down on 50 and discussing getting the rights to the BMF series. Had no plans to follow through on it, and Ross has since left Big Meech. These days, Big Meech is no longer involved in the promotion of anything that may enrich his own finances. And although Rick Ross gave us all the impression that 50 Cent was pulling strings, there are suspicions that he may have been the reason that Big Meech's welcoming benefit party was canceled. The straightforward explanation is that Ross preferred that Meech remain in his current position rather than reap the rewards of that performance and make a big comeback in the game. The good man was 50, and he said, "I had nothing to do with this. Quit calling my phone," after publishing the post and then taking it down. Have a good day, I hope. Cheers to Valentine's Day. You don't realize my strength. Initially, many people didn't understand, but now everything is beginning to make sense. When Ross said, "I think I'm Big Meech in the BMF song," Meech thought Ross was supporting him. Could it be something? I'll give you an idea, though, that will make you wonder. What? If Big Meech was really what Rick Ross wanted? If you think about it, Ross has a history of basing his entire brand on other people's identities, especially when those people are members of the rap dynasty. Those are the facts. The individual's name was really derived from the real Rick Ross, an infamous figure who was incarcerated at the time of his appearance. Not to mention that he called him out and even tried to sue him when the actual Rick Ross was made public. In the game, ambition and loyalty are called into doubt by this absurd position.
Rapper Rick Ross having the same name.
Well, the fact that he stole my name, not that we had the same name, he actually stole my whole story, my identity, the whole thing. You know, he built his career.
In 2010, the actual Rick Ross, who had a whole business in the 1980s, filed a lawsuit against rapper Rick Ross for identity theft and trademark infringement. In 2013, despite his insistence that the whole thing was a hoax and that he invented the name himself, the judge finally ruled in the rapper's favor. For the record, Ross I was. In light of everything mentioned above, it is unlikely that Ross was attempting to play the same hoax. The odds were in his favor because he was greater in wealth, more well-known, and let's not forget, a former police officer. Additionally, the judge decided that Ross's use of the name was protected by the First Amendment, which meant that William Leonard Roberts II was free to maintain the name without any issues and that the real Rick Ross lost the lawsuit. The line from that BMF song that goes, "I think I'm Big Meech." When Meech leaves, he immediately begins to act like he has his back or something, but when it comes time to assist Meech in making a real comeback, he fails miserably. In this case, Rick Ross's treatment of Larry Hoover in 2021 is exactly like this. Ross has been making use of Larry. As a prisoner, Hoover was a real kingpin in the game to boost his popularity in its songs. Ross reportedly paid the gangster disciples millions of dollars to keep riding Hoover's coattails, according to rumors. But rather than put forth effort to assist Hoover, the man deserted him when it came time to completely back his mission. He was instead out here making money off of Hoover's heritage without giving anything back. In other words, a lot of people were making Rick Ross deal with the issue, and a lot of people still say that he messed up and was too nervous to show up at the stadium. Here we are now again. 50 Cent once said that he didn't consider Rick Ross a human, which makes sense given that history is repeating itself. You never know when the man might turn against you.
His career that you have any respect for?
Oh, no, there's nothing there.
While he's out there working on new projects and piling that paper, Big Meech and Lil Meech are supposedly struggling as they scurry from celebrity to celebrity. You know that 50 is probably just lounging and chuckling at all of this pandemonium, just to keep their heads above water for a few seconds. And wow, do we talk about the most surprising part? Hey Rick. Ross felt that 50 was unable to raise the funds for his film studio, so he started laughing and calling 50 names. That loan, however, was authorized a few days ago. Rick Ross is undoubtedly furious now that he is realizing that 50 isn't the proper guy to play with, especially after he was bragging about obtaining 50's masters just a few weeks prior. In retrospect, the whole claim now appears very absurd.
I'll buy your masters. You better shoot. I will buy you.
It's evident that some lessons have finally clicked when it comes to Lil Meech and Big Meech, even though it seems a bit late for 50 to include Lil Meech again or assist Big Meech at this time. Zip with the Drip is one voice that has been vocal throughout this whole story, I must say. As he saw this drama play out and noticed that 50 Cent was revealing information about Big Meech, he made an early prediction. And eventually Rick Ross would abandon Big Meech when things got out of control. In the current era, a lot of fans are discussing the whole thing. People in the industry largely feel that Meech is a washed-up figure, especially after his one shot at a return was squandered. He should have gained wisdom, or at least a better understanding from all that time spent in prison, right? A fresh viewpoint on navigating these streets. But in reality, it's been the exact opposite, which is why one user said, "Let me get this straight. This karma is being served fresh out of the oven right now, as a former correctional officer reverses course on a prisoner who could have expected it. And then another dishonest man beats up another dishonest man. There's a phrase for that. However, what do you think of all this drama? I really want to know. Do you believe Big Meech intends to get even with Rick Ross? Or will he just ignore that betrayal since he is also being criticized for allegedly leaving his boyhood friend behind? If you have any comments, please share them with us below.